Yeah, Demon Theory. On Halloween night, 6 medical students get a call that one of their diabetic mothers at a remote farmhouse is in jeopardy. So they go out there to try to administer what they see as aid. And turns out that the problem at that old farmhouse isn't diabetes, it's gargoyles in the sky or demons in the sky or something in the sky that's snatching people up. And everybody gets snatched up more or less. And then there's part two, Demon Theory 17, which is set at a hospital with the same characters. And then there's Demon Theory 18, which is back at the farmhouse with the same characters. And it's kind of, to me, like they're caught in a little like a narrative eddy, it feels like, and they're just getting sucked into the same issues over and over again. It doesn't matter it matters if they die, but death isn't everything we think it is either.
So for the listeners, before we start chatting, this episode's a little bit different because Demon Theory, first of all, the release that we're talking about already came out. It already got to the 500 lucky people who got to get a copy of this limited release. So this is different. It's not pre-release public promotion. This is, hey, this is a book that came out a long time ago, and it's just a great opportunity to talk about something that kind of is big in Stephen's origin, kind of writing. And Jesse is here as well, first of all, because Stephen and Jesse know each other very well, but also I can't think of another person beyond Jesse who would know more about Stephen and his writing. So where I feel intimidated knowing stuff about your work, I can always lean on Jesse to be like, no, this is really, what happened, or this is the date that it was, whatever. So Jesse's kind of has an encyclopedic knowledge of your work. So
that's good. It's probably better than my knowledge, man.
I don't know, man. I think my encyclopedia is starting to lose some pages as I get older.
So yeah, really the goal of this is Demon Theory originally released a long ass time ago, and you got kind of a window to show some of the world of it again. And so I was like, what the hell? Let's chat about that a bit. And here's the thing that happened. So I got my book, I start reading it and everything. And you have this nice, like, it's 20-ish, 15, 20 page introduction at the beginning of it. And all of my thoughts about what we would talk about in this episode totally changed. I was like, this is the conversation, like Stephen's story about how the book, kind of originated and the ups and downs of it and the influences and everything. That was like, holy shit, this could be a whole episode in itself. So if it seems like I'm leaning toward questions about that kind of stuff, is because it's so incredibly fascinating.
Well, thank you. Let's do it, man. Yeah, I'm ready. I can try to answer. I wrote this back in, I read it in 99, I guess. So that's 24 years. So I can't guarantee my memory's perfect,
Yeah.
The original title for this, it wasn't Demon Theory, though. Y'all probably know this. It was All the Beautiful Sinners. When I wrote this in 99, that was the title of it. And I gave it to a publisher. I didn't give it to a publisher. We submitted it to a lot of publishers, and they all said, this is stupid. This is just House of Leaves fan fiction, and which of course broke my heart. And then in 2002, that a publisher hit me up to write a thriller, which I wrote for them, and I was calling it a terrible name, Subterranean Iron Horse Blues. And that was a publisher who had seen All the Beautiful Sinners, which was Demon Theory. And they said, what if we took this title and moved it over here? And I figured Demon Theory would never get published. So I said, sure, take that title. It doesn't matter. And so then I had to come up with a new title for what's now Demon Theory.
I re-listened to, back when I was doing the booked podcast, we did a review of Demon Theory, and I re-listened to that, and it was with our mutual friend Misty Bennett was on the thing too. And one of the things that we brought up was like, oh, you know what? I never realized it, but he name dropped All the Beautiful Sinners in it. And only when I got this book and read your introduction did I realize, oh, he wasn't name dropping another book. That was the name of the book. Like, it was the roll credits like moment.
Yeah. Yeah. The book didn't have a title until, I think it's Nona who says that, if I remember correctly, until she says that, Yeah. Then it became that. Yeah.
Huh. Yeah. That's pretty cool. But Demon Theory as a name, is large in your life because I believe your website is still demontheory.net.
It is, yeah.
Um,
Like all that, like StephenGrahamJones.com.net. Like there's a lot of things that direct to Demon Theory, but it always feels weird to me, those vanity URLs, you know? Like I feel weird telling somebody go to StephenGrahamJones.com like I'm doing like a Honda ad or something, you know? And so Demon Theory to me is, and you're right with what you said earlier, that Demon Theory is kind of at the core of who I am as a writer. To me, it works really well. It's kind of like a banner flying over all my stuff or my URL, my domain name, you know?
yeah.
It's a really good name, and I mean, thinking too, the cover art for the original publication of Demon
Yeah.
Theory, man, that is just, it blows me away to this day how subtle
Mm-hmm.
and understated yet amazing it is. And you could
Yeah.
kind of apply that to all your works too, just like the name you could fit
Yeah.
under that banner. It's like it's just this
Yeah.
perfect image.
Yeah. Yeah. And it would be neat if all my covers had like film sprockets on the side. I think that'd be really cool too.
Maybe, well, I would get into like the ins and outs of how like treacherous publishing is at some point, but like I could imagine like just a volley of re-releases that all have a themed style of
Yeah.
cover, which would be kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that would be like when they reissued like Philip K. Dick stuff. It all looked the same on the shelf, you know.
yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah.
Lansdale too. Lansdale
Yeah.
and Jim Thompson, they all
Yeah.
got, which those might have been the same publisher, just different arms of it. Like
Yeah.
doing all these books are going to have like a tone to the covers and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. The trick is with my back catalog, my agent and I have recently been trying to pull it together so we could do something like that, and it turns out that it's not pull togetherable, you know, because I
Like,
signed some bad contracts back in the day, so stuff is going to be eternally locked up. And like Demon Theory, unless I get lawyers involved, it's probably always lost to me, you know, the 2006 version, anyways. Yeah.
Oh man, that's crazy. I had
Well,
no idea that it was to that
yeah.
extent. I kind of thought maybe you were just going to say like to do that road, like Flush Boy by the cover would look like some super scary horror novel
Yeah.
to just
Yeah.
fit the
Yeah.
theme of the covers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, of all my books, of all my novels, Flush Boy is the scariest to me. You know, I do not want to work that job.
No. And I thought fast food was bad when I was younger.
Yeah, so the publishing, being mired, at least the 2006 version was definitely something that kind of inspired me to want to talk about this too, because there is generationally like new people that are coming to your books, especially in the last probably 3 years, and I think anybody who falls in love with an author is going to want to get everything they can from you, and because of a lot of your stuff being released on, like I know that Lazy Fascist had some stuff of yours and they no longer exist, and Broken River, I don't know if they're still, I'm not sure exactly where they stand, but there's like a lot of publishers that, you know, and hopefully you can get your rights back from, you know, what you can from that. But like it came from Del Rio, for example, either I think you have to try and find a copy somewhere or that's all she wrote kind of. So that's something where if you become an enthusiast of something, then it's like you got your Greg Greens of the world who will not let anything get in their way of getting the stuff that they want from you. But it kind of like makes me feel like, oh man, there needs to be a solution. And it sounds like at least you're trying to do that to the best of your ability.
Yeah, I am. The FC2 books like Bird is Gone, Leadfeather, and Fast Drug Road, they'll probably always be FC2, I suspect. And I'm not terribly sad about that because FC2 gave me my start, and I still like their ethos, you know. And they publish like bleeding edge stuff that's not supposed to work, and sometimes it does, and I really appreciate that. I bet the Dzank stuff will probably stay with Dzank, and I'm supposed to say Zank. I just never can say Zank. I always say Dzank. The Eraserhead stuff, which is the umbrella over Lazy Fascist and Broken River, that stuff will come back to me. I've got Nolan Dugatti back. I've got Del Rio back, and I might get some lawyers. And I might get some lawyers involved because Demon Theory and Growing Up Dead in Texas are both at the same place. And if I can get both those back, that would be really good. And States of Grace, I think I can do whatever I want with it. What is it? 3 Miles Past, and Sterling City. I think if those aren't mine, I think they could be.
Gospel of Z was on something.
Yeah, I've got
else
that
too.
back too. That was
great.
Was that Sam Hain? That might have been Sam Hain.
Yeah.
Sam Hain. Yeah, I was gonna say Shamrock, but I'm like, no,
Yeah.
that's wrong. It's just the logo or
Silver,
something.
Silver Shamrock. Yeah. Yeah. No, I got Gospel of Z. What else is there? I can't remember them all, but let me think. Mongrels. I bet Mongrels stays with William Morrow. I suspect.
The what was it? The Grown Up Dead in Texas, Demon Theory, all being under
Yeah.
the same umbrella because of all the various things that happened over the year and all the changing of hands or whatever. Didn't that also kind of affect the publication of a different novel too? That never came out, Washed in the Blood or something, I think.
Washed in the Blood. Yeah, Washed in the Blood. That's right. It was a novel about elk set in West Texas. Well, I say about elk. It had elk in it, but yeah, no, I loved Washed in the Blood, but I doubt if it ever comes out. Yeah, it was supposed to come out with MP, who did Growing Up Good in Texas, and then they did that weird thing where I turned the novel in and they were about to give me notes on it, and then it showed up on Amazon with a synopsis that was every single beat of the book, which was really an odd thing to do. It wasn't like teasy, like maybe this will happen, maybe that'll happen. It was like an outline, like this, and this happens.
I remember seeing that, like stumbling upon it and being like, "Oh, cool! There's another one coming out." And then I'm like reading the description, and it's just going on longer than descriptions usually do on Amazon. It's like scroll. I'm like, did I just read like the entire book almost?
It was weird. I never had that happen before. But yeah, we broke up with them pretty quickly, right around like that week, I think.
Damn.
Yeah.
So, back to Demon Theory and its publication ups and downs. The 1999 version is the one that you shaped into this limited SST release.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say shaped. I just found the file on my hard drive and sent the file whole to Paul Fry at SST. I didn't go over it. He did go through and copy edit it, but the copy edit, there was like so few errors. I mean, I'm not saying I'm a perfect writer. I'm saying somebody back in 99 had gone over it for me, I have no idea who anymore. And so he was just like, maybe there'd be a word missing every 40 pages or something. It wasn't a extensive redo or anything like that. This is pretty much as it was in 1999.
That's
but
awesome.
The weird thing is, I had no idea there were so few footnotes in this version. I remember there being a lot more footnotes in 1999. So there could be, if I hadn't lost all my email from back then, I bet I could dig up a copy that is like partway between this version and the 06 version. But I lost all that email at all. I don't know where it went. Somewhere.
Yeah. But the addition at the end I thought was really cool. Your bonus materials that show up after the original manuscript is I'm gonna forget her name. Oh man, I feel so bad.
Delicia Williams.
Yeah. Who had kind of just it grew out of like just fandom, was drawing Demon Theory and then approached you and showed you it, and then it turned into a collaboration. So there's like almost 200 pages of extra stuff. That's all these, sketches and actual like comic book pages and stuff like that, and the scripts that go along with it. So, that was a nice little treat to throw in there too.
Yeah, I was really tempted to go back into those scripts, and like now that I'm writing comic books, like I wrote that as imagining what it would be like to write a comic script, And now that I'm writing comic scripts, I think I have a better handle on how to do one. I was really tempted to go back into those scripts and make it look like I'm smarter, but I figured that would be dishonest. So I just left them as they were, and hopefully there's nothing terrible in there. I don't even know. I didn't read them over when I sent them.
So there's almost something archival about that. Like, this whole project seems like it's more like a snapshot of time than representing what you did in a way that you want it to look now or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I saw somebody somewhere saying this is like the authorial version or the preferred version, and I don't think I'd go quite that far. This is just the 1999 version, And I don't know what my preferred version is. I haven't really thought it through, I do like a lot of the like nested footnotes in the 06 version. How it's just like you're falling down a staircase and you're like, "There's more, we're still going." It's like Homer falling into Springfield Gorge or whatever.
Yeah.
Man, I could be totally misremembering, but isn't there a part in the 06 version where it gets to like it's almost 2 solid pages of footnotes nested within each other.
Yeah,
it's
there
like
is. And
such a fun spiral just following
it
all
was,
that.
it was. And that's why the trade paperback that came out, I guess, in '07 has the footnotes all turned to endnotes, because the file for the '06 version was way too complicated for the printer to read again, evidently. Because I had made a couple of typos in the '06 version. Like, I think I have a Van Halen album. I have the wrong Van Halen album listed once, and there was one other typo, so I went in and fixed those and resent it. And for some reason, I guess I had a new version of, I think I was probably on, I don't know if I was on Word back then or Linux Word Perfect. I was on something that didn't talk to their InDesign very well. And so the file blew up, and they're like, we can't do it. They had to, I'm not sure what it means. They had to shoot from glass, which I guess means a photograph. I don't really understand, but that's why the footnotes all became endnotes.
Yeah, that makes sense. Is that how the ebook ended up being kind of similar?
How is the ebook? I don't know if I ever, are the notes. Oh, the notes are, you like touch the number and it shoots you to the end. Is that right?
Well, yeah, and I never looked at the ebook, but in our booked review of it, Livius, that's how he had read it, and he had said something about how like the initial linked footnote that took you there fine, but some of the like sub notes afterwards got lost. So like if it wasn't in the first note, he didn't see it or something. So I was feeling that maybe that had something to do with it.
It's definitely problematic having nested footnotes like that. And I've never listened to the audio for this either. I tried to listen to it when it came out, and I listened to like the first 5 minutes of audio sample or something, and the person reading it did not have like an accent like mine, and so it totally jangled with what was in my head for this book, and so I kept listening to it and never did it again. But I'm guessing there's no footnotes in the audio production.
Jesse, what are your thoughts about the different incarnations of Demon Theory? Have you you have the 2006 version, you have obviously this one. Have you experienced any of the more digital stuff or no? Or paperback?
So I have the paperback. I also have the the Canadian publication, which was a paperback only, I believe. It came out through Anchor Canada. So I have that, and that is similar to the McAdam Cage paperback. The footnotes or endnotes. I do have the ebook. I remember, I'm sure when it came out or was up for pre-order, I was just like, yes, just no brainer, click. And I don't know if anyone knew at the time. Out in the the readership world or whatever about the rights issues with that. But because I have the books, I never opened the ebook. It was more about I can carry this book with me literally, like it's on my phone. So I had it that way. But knowing that it was essentially stolen, I'm like, I can't even bring myself to open up the ebook to take a look at it.
Yeah. It's a strange story of this book post-publication kind of.
I am a fan of the footnotes, though. Since we were touching on that, I'll say that I was nuts about the footnotes when that first came out. Like, I didn't even need to read them really, because I kind of had all the info in my head already, like all the horror movie stuff, all the rock and roll stuff. Like, most of that I just knew, but I just kind of liked the journey aspect of it. Like, just following the footnotes down and down and down and seeing where it goes was such an awesome thing. And I've always liked everything about the presentation of the novel. Just the idea that it's this sort of adaptation of an adaptation of an adaptation, or Rob, whatever it was I said to you the other day, like that blew me away. I'm like, that's a really good approach to it. Like I'm like, this is perfect. This is so horror. It's a trilogy, and it's all these things, and you kind of don't know what's what too. So like a little bit of unreliableness, and whether it's the narrator or whatever, just kind of added to the feeling of it, the vibe.
Yeah, because you're right. Like most of the footnotes, I tried to be strictly factual, but to me, that allowed me, it allowed me some leash from the reader to lie, So every once in a while, I'd sneak a lie into the footnotes. Like there's one in there about how Phil Collins based in the air tonight on Jason Voorhees drowning, and and I was having lunch with somebody back in about 2010 in Denver, and they started telling me that they never knew that about Phil Collins. That's really cool that he's a slasher fan, and I had to tell them that I made that up, dude. I was just lying.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. My two thoughts about the footnotes element of the book were, first of all, it was like we got to kind of see inside your head personally, because, and I know you well enough to know that a lot of the stuff that shows up in there, like the type of music that's referenced in the horror movies and stuff like that, was really just like things that a lot of it is things you were enthusiastic about. So it almost felt like you were telling me the story and going off on tangents while I was getting the story from you, which, like kind of endeared me to the story a little bit more.
Oh, cool. In 99, I think going off on a tangent about like pro wrestling and monster trucks and hair metal was like, that was yesterday, but now in 2023, when this SST version comes out, there's a different distance back to that stuff. It's like,
oh yeah,
why is Grandpa talking about Twisted Sister? That kind of thing. Man.
Oh man, I didn't even think about that, but that's interesting too, because I mean, obviously, like we're all of similar age, so we knew all that stuff from life and from growing up and whatnot, and we've read the original publication, we've read the book, so we're familiar with it. But I didn't think about that. Yeah. Maybe someone just picking this up today for the first time, being like, why are they dressed like the people from that TV show? Like, why is that? Why are they going to the party dressed like that?
Yeah. I had somebody ask me at a Q&A somewhere. They said, why do all your characters listen to music from about like 87 to 89? And I was like, I don't know. It could be any reason.
Yeah, that's funny. And then like the format of it, obviously you would acknowledge in the introduction a bunch how the footnotes and everything strikingly similar to Daniel Levsky's House of Leaves, that or not striking similar, but like parallel, I would say is probably a better way to say it, to something Daniel Levsky did with House of Leaves at the kind of the same time. And so that was a weird thing. But then I was reading that and I was thinking about, so our friend Misty Bennett has this great story about seeing you in Texas, and it was at a thing where Mark Danielewski was there too.
Yeah,
and
we were
she like totally
together.
Yeah, and she totally like ignored him because she was like excited to see you and get Demon Theory signed and everything. And I was like, this is like your retribution. Like you turned people to bigger fans. And obviously Mark is awesome. I think he's a brilliant guy and he writes awesome stuff. So obviously no negative on him, but I love that story from Misty because like that's the turnaround of what you said in that introduction.
I remember at that event, I think I got him to sign a House of Leaves for me, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I still have it. I always give my books away, and I never care if they're signed or not. So I don't know what I have anymore, And but I distinctly remember that event. The reason I remember it so well is because, number one, like he wasn't like in a normal chair up on stage. He I think it was probably book people. They'd put him in like a throne, like big thing with like spires on the back. And I was like, is that the king? What is going on? And then it was summer. I think it was summertime in Austin. It was hot anyways. Maybe it's always hot in Austin. And he was sitting up there in that throne and wearing like an orange scarf twice around his neck. And I don't know how he was living in that kind of, I don't know how you wear a scarf in like 90-degree weather, So he's made of something different than I am, But yeah,
now that you mention it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Every time I see that guy, he's wearing a scarf, so that's all I was going to say. But
maybe he's a vampire, huh? He's got scars. I didn't ever think about that.
He's hiding something.
Cool. But yeah, I mean, as far as the footnote game, number one, I think he did it better than I did, and it could be that David Foster Wallace did it better than either of us, But we were all doing it in different ways, I think, and I feel like something about the '90s. I think it was probably something to do with the internet at our fingers. It made information accessible in a way that it hadn't been before. And so the trivia game started finding its way into fiction, and I think Danielewski and David Foster Wallace were both like expressing that in some way, and I know for me, Demon Theory, the footnotes from there the first place they come from is me calling myself out as I was writing it, because I would say, "You stole this from John Carpenter. You stole this," just to keep myself honest and feel like I was not a total thief. But it also came from me being a librarian at the time, and I always had to search up OCLC records, the Library of Congress, and I was the video cataloger, so we'd get all these crazy like VHS tapes with Polish titles, and I'd have to figure out what the title is, and there was like 10 copies of it in the world, and I'd have to make up records for it. So I'd have to do all this subject heading work and all this research. And then my boss, she told me about this site called IMDb, and I was like, weird. And so I went there, and that was just like me falling into a rabbit hole for the rest of my life. IMDb, you know.
I'm just picturing you watching like grabbing 10 different videotapes you think are all different, and essentially you end up watching the Fireman's Ball 10 times in a row.
I would. I mean, I could get a booth at the library and watch them if I wanted on the hourly thing, but I would take a lot of them home and watch them at home as well, because it was really cool watching that super indie stuff. It was really from other countries. It was an education for me. It was really cool. And I say that the internet was maybe responsible for this like flourishing of footnotes, but I think I probably say it's in the introduction to this SST demon theory too. I think pop-up video on VH1 had a lot of impact on the world too, because it created this sense that it was almost like augmented reality. Like when I'd look everywhere, I would see these little dialogue balloons popping up, like this is from that, this is from that, this is related to that, And so it started creating like a web in everything I saw. And of course that found its way onto the page and the stories.
Damn, that's fascinating. I never thought about that. But yeah, it's like you couldn't have context at your fingertips like that before something like that.
Yeah.
Well, even in your introduction, you mentioned... Oh, sorry, Jesse. Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. I was just probably another tangent, because I was like, well, then we go from demon theory to however many years later it is, that movie Detention, which was a horror movie that was done all pop-up style kind of, or maybe it was just the commentary. I think that's what it was, and I'm forgetting. Like the director's commentary was a pop-up commentary. It was pretty neat.
I've got that DVD. I need to watch the commentary. I did not know that. I love it when that happens. I love it.
It's something altogether different, I think, from what I'd seen up until then.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Oh man,
but Rob, we interrupted you.
No. First, I'm going to say that's what I love about being friends with Jesse, is that this man's brain contains so much fascinating stuff that he is like my pop-up video, like in fucking real time. But in your introduction, you mentioned in Word discovering like the formatting for footnotes and stuff like that, and that kind of revolutionized the whole thing. And then going back to talking about Mark Danielewski, when I talked to him about one of his books, we were talking about his formatting and everything, and one of the things that he has kind of fallen victim to with the unconventional way that he does stuff is that he's kind of ahead of his time in a way where like he misses audiences a little bit with the more advanced stuff. Like he does enhanced ebooks and stuff, advanced ebooks and stuff. And they don't seem super successful, but then it's like, I don't want people who are doing things that are new and different to feel discouraged, because then it might not happen anymore. And so I think books like this need to be celebrated and talked about and examined, like what's going on and why, and how does it enhance the story.
Yeah, that I was talking about FC2 earlier, Fiction Collective 2, and that's what I like about them, that they do books that you hold them at arm's length and you're like, is this even a book? I don't understand what's going on this page, and also this page, and this page is even weirder. But it's almost like the music scene needs GarageBand DNA to get infused into it to keep it fresh and to keep it moving forward and evolving into the next thing. And fiction needs that as well, And yes, Danielewski with his wild experiments, like probing at the edges of the comprehensible, we need that kind of stuff, for sure. And it's not always going to be commercially successful, but I do think, like you were saying, Rob, that give us 10 dozen years, it might find a foothold, and it might change things a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like Danielewski's Only Revolutions. I thought that was I like that book more than I like House of Leaves. I think Only Revolutions was a good time, man. And it was really clever the way it was done.
Yeah, and when I was talking to him, that's when he specifically mentioned there's an enhanced ebook version, and the way that you experience it is like kind of more I don't know, curated to the way that he would want someone to take the book in if they didn't know like the formula of how you're supposed to do it or whatever. And that was like a big effort for him, but it didn't really seem to go anywhere. And I was like, please don't be discouraged.
Yeah, well, like what's that guy's name? Steve Tomasula with FC2. He did a book on a CD, and it was a book that would not conform to pages, and so he had to do it some digital fashion. I've still got that CD, right? It's still wrapped in its shrink wrap. I haven't even opened it yet. I don't even have a CD player anymore to play it on a CD drive. And then Richard Grossman, who did the Book of Lazarus trilogy or the ABC trilogy, I think, or is it the Alphabet Killer, something like that.
Oh man, is there a third one? I'm like, if there's a third one, I totally missed out on it. But there was the Lazarus one and the Alphabet one.
Yeah, and he did Breeze Avenue, which it wouldn't conform to like a book with a spine. So he did like an installation in LA of a 3,000 page book that you walk through in a big space.
Oh wow!
And I'm excited for things like that to happen. I mean, we're kind of past the hypertext moment we had in like the early 2000s, which was fun, the hypertext novels. But I think the reason that they kind of went away, they did infuse stuff into the mode, but I think they went away because they lock you into a browser. You can't really read a hypertext book on a device, or not easily anyways.
Right. Yeah, I think there's a return on investment that most tech companies don't want to get into for stuff like that. Like that's why I think Apple's the only one that has enhanced ebooks. Yeah. Because they've got all the money in the world to throw at shit like that, to be honest.
Yeah. Back when Del Rio came out in 2010, I guess, the publisher Trapdoor, they were basically a tech company who decided to do some publishing for fun. And which is to say the CEO of it, a guy named Chris, he had all these like tech innovation ideas for Del Rio, and he wanted to do an enhanced ebook of that, which was kind of like when you're watching Amazon Prime and sometimes you hit a button wrong and you go into that X-ray mode and you can see all that stuff. He had kind of had that for he mocked up some versions of an ebook of Del Rio for that, and it was gonna tell you about it was gonna give you a little sketch of the character and what's happened up to here. It was some pretty cool ideas, But then Trapdoor went away and Del Rio went with it, and the sequel too,
Man, that'd be rad. You could like totally put out a different version of that. It could be like the Hell Bunny edition or something crazy like that. Like maybe you're seeing it. What is Hell Bunny vision even? Is it like the Predator or what?
Oh no, that's a good point. Maybe I didn't even think about this, but I've still got the manuscript for Del Rio too. I could probably do a special edition that wrapped up it came from Del Rio and the second one, Once Upon a Time in Texas, into a single edition. That'd be kind of fun,
Wow.
I meant for it to be a trilogy. I never wrote the third one, but I meant for Mongrels to be a trilogy too. And then William Morrow, when Mongrels came out, I said, "All right, here's my sketches for books 2 and 3." And they said, "What?" And I said, "Yeah, I want to do Mongrels 2 and 3." And they said, "We don't want you to be the werewolf writer. Give us something different."
At different times now, maybe even if there was like 6 years in between that, because I feel like people can just do like 2 or 3 of something and then give me another topic. I feel like it's a little bit more flexible now, or elastic than maybe it was back then.
Yeah.
Huh.
I mean, I could find another publisher. I could find another publisher to do 2 and 3 of Mongrels, but I don't think publishers like you're talking about return on investment, and I think it'd be weird for a publisher to do book 2 and 3 when that's going to increase sales of book 1 for another publisher.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, I never thought about that, but the way that you get locked down with publishing, and it's like, you can't just decide not to do something. You got to do what you can do in the moment, because like the whole industry is fickle, and so I guess you're just gonna get caught in some quicksand every now and then.
Yeah, and maybe it's best. Maybe I would have messed up the Mongrels story. I don't know.
That you have it sketched up, that you had the idea in your mind, though, that's still like, for me, that's enough. Like you've got the idea, there's a seed there. That's cool, and like who knows, one day, whatever.
Yeah, maybe I can also do it as a comic book, probably. Huh?
Yeah,
that'd be pretty. But
Mongrels has been trying to become a television show for a couple of years now, and I did give those pitches to the studio, this is how later seasons of Mongrels could look. And they were all super on board with the way that I had it going.
Wow.
Dude, I gotta say, if it did become a comic book, though, man, imagining Delicia Williams doing some of that too. I don't know what it is, but the way they draw faces on the characters, that is some next level graphic stuff there. It's just those comic pages in the back of this SST edition really blew me away.
Yeah, no, her eyes specifically, like you say, they're so expressive, and I really am captivated by her art. She's amazing.
Yeah. Is there an opening for maybe collaboration with her down the road, or is there not?
I have not asked her. I presume there would be. Yes, I know she's doing other things now. But it would have to be kind of a side project for her, I think. So, which is to say, it might be a slower to develop project, But that'd be cool with me to get her art. She's amazing.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. On the topic of Demon Theory, one of the things that we talked about was how it's really not readily available for people. But a thought that I had with rereading this was how I feel like there's so much of the DNA of it in your later stuff. I feel like there's a lot of your style that kind of persists throughout. And I could just be looking for, it's like that, like a confirmation bias. Like I have this idea, so I'm going to find it where I want to. But how do you feel about that? Is there like, does Demon Theory kind of persist through like your later catalog of stuff?
I think it really does. I mean, Demon Theory was the second novel I ever wrote. I wrote it in 99, and right after the Fast Red Road, because I was really afraid at the time of being pigeonholed as a native writer. I wanted to just be a writer. And so I wanted to prove to the world that I can do whatever I want to do on the page. And I mean, who knows if that was the case or not, but I didn't want to be hemmed in anyways, And so the rule I gave myself for Demon Theory was write a book that never says the word Indian in it. And I failed because it says it once. It says Indian Graveyard. But I couldn't figure out a way around that. But yes, Demon Theory is at the core of everything I do, I feel like. I mean, number one, it's a slasher, and it also has cycles. I love books. I love things that cycle, and I think I get that. You were saying it is at the core of what I do, and I thought it was uppercase it, and I was like, yes, Stephen King's it is at the core of everything I do, because it goes in cycles, those 27-year bumps. And I mean, that's what My Heart is a Chainsaw is doing now. It's cycling through a trilogy, I just, for some reason, cycle. And my very first novel, The Fast Red Road, it's also about the same story happening over and over with different characters or people getting sucked in to play these roles, And I suspect a lot of my books do that. I think cycles and outsiders are two things I'll probably always be writing about.
One time, literally, with The Night Cyclist, at least. Cycles. I was making a pun.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry. Also, I have a bicycle story. What is it? The God of Low Things, a prairie dog story about bicycles too. And I've also got a slasher novella kind of sketched out in my head that's on mountain bikes.
Nice.
Yeah. And people get worse injuries than this on their mountain bikes, man.
Oh man, ones they don't walk away from, I'm taking it.
Yeah.
I mean, you throw the word mountain in front of anything, it's just like the options skyrocket as to what could go wrong, probably.
For sure.
This might be the corniest question I've asked anybody in a long time, but for some reason, like it kind of ties in with that thing about the Demon Theory DNA. And the thought I had was like, what would Demon Theory be if you had written it like in the 2020s instead of all those years ago? And then my concern was your answer would be like, it wouldn't get written, or it would be these books that I wrote. But I don't know if you have a thought about that. Like if it's something that showed up now, I don't know, would it be different? Or is that a terrible question?
That's a good question. It's a good question. Yeah, it would be different because we have even more access to information, number one. And number two, I would have to fold in all these, like when I wrote this in 99, Scream 3 hadn't even come out yet, and I didn't know that the like neo slasher boom was going to fall down pretty much in 01 or so. I thought it was going to go on forever. That was my hope. And so we didn't have Leslie Vernon, we didn't have Tucker and Dale, we didn't have Cabin in the Woods, we didn't have so many things. And I guess my suspicion is it probably wouldn't have happened because I would have felt like all these innovative slashers are already doing the necessary innovating. I don't have to be the one to carve that out, if that makes sense. But I did do Last Final Girl. That was 2012, I guess, something like that.
Yep.
And to me, the rule I gave myself for Last Final Girl was do Demon Theory, but use no footnotes, and but I was able to plug in the same cinematic prose style that I used in Demon Theory for it, that I use also in Zombie Bake Off, and that's probably my default mode. I can write in that mode forever and ever. It's so natural to me, and it makes transitions so much easier. I don't have to stage the right sequence of words. I can just say cut to, that's so much easier.
Yeah, that's a good point. Speaking of Zombie Bake Off,
instead of this being written now, what I kind of wonder is what if there was a sequel now? What if they like those poor sinners had to come back for yet another 3 cycles with all the technological changes and whatnot? Where would their heads be at? And especially Khan for some reason. Khan and Metatron are just kind of forever floating around in my head with their comedic commentary and whatnot.
I know. I really, Rob, you were asking if Demon Theory is at the core of what I do, and it is. But at the core of that is Khan, because when I discovered Khan, that opened up a new way of telling stories for me. And you see I think Darren and Mongrels is a version of Khan. Gabe and Good Indians is a version of Khan, and I think I'll keep trying to smuggle versions of Khan in to everything I do. Probably he's like a character who doesn't arc, but he's almost like plot grease. He makes things slide forward so much more efficiently. He's what I call I think stories need instigators. They need characters who can take the protagonist by the hand and pull them in the next room, such that the reader doesn't ask, why are we going to this room? We're going to this room because Dean Moriarty and On the Road is pulling you to that room. That we need those instigators who the first time you see them on the page, they're fully developed. They don't have anywhere to grow. They've kind of hit their ceiling. They're not going to be perfect. They're always going to be kind of stupid, but they're really fun.
Huh? That's cool. Yeah. All right. With the time we have left, Jesse, any thoughts or questions about Demon Theory for Steven that has not been covered yet? Because you probably have a lot more notes and thoughts in your mind than I do.
I mean, the one thing that I'm forever curious about, and I know there's information here and there. We were talking about the development of the book itself, and its publication woes and history and whatnot. But and the cover art too, which is really, really mind blowing. But I've always been curious, how did it land at McAdam Cage? Or I'm assuming Jason Wood, editing it, had a lot to do with it. Is he the one that kind of championed that project and was like, well, we're gonna bring you in for this?
Yeah, he did. It wasn't like a blind submission. I think it was an invitation. I think they solicited us, if I'm not mistaken, and it probably was because they were already publishing Will Christopher Bear and Craig Clevenger. I suspect that was it, and they knew that I was hanging with them on the Velvet and everything. But I don't remember specifically, and I've lost all those emails, so I can't go back and look. But working with Jason was really good because he 100% believed in Demon Theory, and he didn't come in like a studio exec and say, what if there was a love interest or what, all the stupid stuff all the notes you get, and yeah, he was really good to work with. But if I remember correctly, he disappeared right around the time of publication. I want to say I don't know if he was around for the trade paperback, really. Yeah, and, it could have been, y'all remember Guy and Tosi from the Velvet?
Yeah.
I think Guy was like an assistant editor or something there. Now he's at Rare Bird, but it could have been Guy who pulled me in. I just don't remember anymore. Yeah,
he was at Zank for a beat though, right? Was he there when you did Flush Boy?
He wasn't there when I did Flush Boy. He might have been there for Not for Nothing.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
And he was at MP Publishing when I did Growing Up Dead in Texas and was going to do Washed in the Blood. Yeah.
Good old Guy.
Yeah, I like Guy. He's good to work with, you know. I'm eternally thankful to him because back when we were doing Demon Theory, um, this was before text messaging for me, anyways. Maybe other people were text messaging, like maybe Paris Hilton at 11 years old was text messaging, but I was not text messaging. But I think I had some like ICQ or some instant messenger, you know, one of all those old things we used to have, and so Guy and I would always talk on that. He was up in New York City, I think, and I would send him pages of Demon Theory that he would edit them. And when Guy edits something, he is like every syllable of every word. It's really intense. And it's really
Wow.
wonderful. But I had tried to sneak something in, and it was like Hale or somebody saying, "You go there if you want." He smiled instead of he says, and like Guy would usually just instant message me back, and I would see it in the morning or something. But it was, I want to say it was 11 o'clock at night for me on Central Time, meaning it was midnight or so in New York time. And Guy calls me up on the phone, which was really weird. And he says, hey. And I'm like, yeah, what's up? Because I thought everything's going away. This is all getting canceled or something like that. And this wasn't for Demon Theory. This was for Growing Up Dead. And no, this was for Demon Theory. I think Guy must have had his fingers in Demon Theory in some way. Anyways, he said, I just want to be real clear that we're not doing this. And what we weren't doing was using Smiled for a tag, you know? And because I'd seen it happening in other stuff, and I thought that must be the new thing to do. And so I tried it out, and I'm so glad that he pulled me off that ledge because I could have fallen in, and I would like now being, I would like have no ethics, and I'd probably like, I don't know. I'd be a bad person if I now used Smiled as a tag for dialogue. You know, Smiled and shrugged, and all those little things people do, they hurt my soul every time they happen. And I've never found an editor who likes them. I still, nevertheless, see them showing up in published fiction, and it hurts me. You know.
So nobody's guffawing in any of your stuff you're working
No,
on.
no. Well, no, guffawing is okay. I think that there's a division. Like there's like the verbs go two ways, and there's verbs that actually express the sound being made. Like guffaw is the sound being made a little bit, you know. But smiled, that's not vocal at all. That's just trying to smuggle a smile into the verb, into the tag.
Yeah.
I mean, we get what's going on when somebody says he smiled, he shrugged as a tag, but I think it is like a gate that is opening onto chaos and madness forevermore with fiction, you know. And I hope that I see less and less of it, but I fear that I'll see more and more of it. And also, what hurts my soul just as much is I see so many writers using semicolons, not just incorrectly, but stupidly. You know, they don't do independent clauses after their semicolons, and I'm like, that's not a semicolon. That's not how you use a semicolon. I was talking to a poet once about semicolons in poetry, and we were going through a poem, and I said, see, what's that semicolon doing there? There's not an independent clause about it. And this poet, she said to me, oh, you don't know? To poets, semicolons are just ornamentation. They're not actually logical coordinators. And I thought, I'm going to go live on the moon. I can't handle this. You know, this does not make sense to me. Yeah. I mean, I wish I could be like descriptive about punctuation and grammar instead of like prescriptive. Is it prescriptive or proscriptive? I always get those two mixed up. But anyways, I wish that I could be less rule bound, you know, and I wish I could just watch it develop and change. Because I do think if you put a glass bowl over something and say stay like that forever, then it's going to suffocate and die. You know, I don't want prose fiction to die. At the same time, years ago, I had a grad student who every single time he used a semicolon, he used it wrong. And I'd always fix it on the page for him. I'd write in the margin these big essays. This is how you do it. And he would do it wrong again the next time. And so finally I pulled him to my office and I said, we're going to go through this until you get it. And so we hunched over some papers and we went through it and through it. And he had this eureka moment. He said, oh, I get it. I get what you're saying. I was like, finally. And he said, that's not how I use semicolons. And I thought, this is it. I'm just going to leave and talk a different language or something, you know, because I don't think semicolons are subjective like that. I think semicolons are absolute.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I don't have that semicolon issue, but I definitely have the thing where there's certain things I can't turn off when I'm consuming, like when I'm reading. I want to be like, all right, I'm going to get, you know, Clevenger on the phone and let him know, like, and well, not Clevenger, because that's the worst example because it's really hard to find problems with his work. But like,
Yeah, no,
you know,
it's really hard. Yeah,
this random author, I'm going to get him on the phone and
yeah,
correct him on this. I just wish I could
yeah.
turn it off and just enjoy what they were doing.
I know. I totally agree. Man, Craig, talking about Craig, yeah, you're totally right. Craig's prose is never not absolutely clean and bulletproof. It's really amazing how precise he is on the page and in the lines. And I suspect Craig even weighs like the meter of his lines, you know? His stuff is just so intentional, you know? Like Mother Howell blows me away, that book. It does exactly what it wants to do, and it does it so cleanly and so precisely.
Yeah. I feel like he even kind of talks that way too. When I'm talking to Craig,
Yeah.
I always get it. Like he's never unclear what we're, you know, like he's got a way with language and stuff, even casually in speaking, that I'm like, can you just, you know, be flawed at some point, please?
Yeah. Have you ever done that team building exercise where you're in a room, there's 50 people, and you get paired up and you sit back to back with someone, and you each get like a bunch of blocks, and the person behind you, who they can't see what you're doing, they have to describe to you what you're going to build with the blocks, you know, and whoever does it best is the best team. Like Craig is the ideal teammate for that, because he would have you doing it right the first time, you know?
Yep. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So to kind of wrap it up, first of all, I could talk to you every day forever, and we'd never run out of stuff to talk about, especially with Jesse around. I'd let you guys go and just like sit back and watch. But awesome to have you on. And I think the thing that, because Demon Theory is not something that everybody can get, knowing that Demon Theory is kind of at the core of what you do, encourages them to like, I heard someone say something about like, hey, can you recommend me where to start with some band or something like that? And they said, start in the middle and go in either direction. And I feel like with you, either I'm going to tell them to read Zombie Bake Off, or I'm telling them start in the middle and go in any direction. Like, you know, there's not a bad place to start with you. But it's nice to know that Demon Theory kind of informs or colors kind of all of the stuff that's out there.
Yeah, Demon Theory, it feels like the Rosetta Stone for everything I do, you know, if that makes sense. Yeah.
That's awesome. And Angel of Indian Lake I said that right? That's the right title?
Yeah.
Good.
I think it's got a D in front of it, but yeah.
That's next March, I believe. Jesse probably knows the exact release date.
March 26th, yeah.
There you go. Yeah. But there's another one that you have sold. Am I right about that?
Yeah. I was a teenage slasher.
Mm-hmm. I was a teenage slasher. Great.
Yeah, I can't say the release date of it yet, but it'll be really soon too.
Awesome.
I was really like fingers crossed that the timing of us talking would be when you were able to talk about the name of Angel of Indian Lake.
Yeah.
And not quite, but close enough. So I'm going to jump on Publicist real early to see if I can get on and talk to you about that. But thank you so much for taking time. Jesse, thank you for being here too. And I'm sorry if we didn't give you enough time to talk. But we'll catch up soon.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Man, it was great talking to y'all.